Well, good morning and welcome to David Boles Live. I think I'm live. We had a harrowing night last night, and I have to speak cautiously and carefully because I don't want to reveal anything I'm not supposed to reveal. Because I want this topic to be universal and not specific to one particular company or entity. So, last night, Janna and I, one of us, the one who shall remain nameless, had sort of, well, I don't want to say a COVID scare, but a COVID concern. And one of us were informed that someone that one of us came in direct contact with tested positive for COVID. And the requirements in the workplace are you must be masked and you must be vaccinated. So this is what appears to be a breakthrough case. And so what do you do with that information when it's presented to you? Hey, you've been spending a lot of time with someone who has tested positive for COVID-19. Well, you have to go report it, which is a really interesting process that quickly becomes a minefield of dismay and despair as you try to do the right thing and you feel the system is working against you to do the right thing. So you go online to this reporting site, and it's very limited in what you can say. It doesn't want input for text. This system, this reporting system, this COVID-19 reporting system wants you to click on buttons for pre-approved and preconceived notions of what your exposure is and is to be, which I find alarming because you can't add any context. It's just this happened and that happened. Now, when you're dealing with a large institution with thousands and thousands of people, that's probably the only way you can handle COVID reporting. And then you hope it gets slotted into the right place and goes to the right people for the right action to take charge. But it doesn't help the individual feel any better. So the report is made. Came to learn close contact with someone who is positive. And then what do? You submit it, and then you wait for a response. And you get back one response that says one thing, and it's all copy pasta. And then a minute later, you get a second response that seems more detailed, but none of these are really from people. They're just automatic canned responses saying, well, if you feel this way, do this, and if you do that, try this. But it doesn't make you feel any better. And it doesn't give you any immediate direction or sense of relief. So you find this out moments before you have to go into a big meeting in the city, and you don't know if you're supposed to go or tell the other people who are supposed to go or not go. And the system is not set up to give you an immediate direction. The system is set up to, well, we'll see how this all shakes out and who investigates what. And if we come to the conclusion that you should not be having meetings, then 2 levels above you and then 2 levels above that, those people will decide if there is danger or not. But otherwise, just go. And don't cancel the meeting. That's not allowed. Even if you are a human being and you don't feel safe and you just learned about this and this is your first experience with being directly exposed to someone with COVID-19. Don't cancel. Go. You're not authorized to cancel. But you don't know any of that at the time because you're emailing people, trying to get a response. What do? I have to go to this meeting in 40 minutes, and I have this new information that is emergency. I don't know what to do. So you find someone, luckily, in the office who is above you in the ladder, and who may not know the precise COVID protocols, but who is a human being and who has caring and sense of nature, and says, of course, you cancel the meeting. What do you mean? Just go cancel. And then, after you cancel, you get the email saying, don't cancel. That's not an option for you. You don't make that decision. You're in charge of the meeting, but you don't make that decision if you're scared or not. You just keep wearing your mask and keep hoping you're not going to get exposed. So then this is where it gets tricky. Because once you have been informed that you have been in the vicinity of a person with COVID-19 in the last 3 days within 6 feet, you become guilty by association. Are you a carrier or are you not a carrier? Well, you have to wait a few days before you go get a PCR test. And you're required to get a PCR test to see if you are infected with COVID-19 or not. And you have to wait because there's an incubation period, I guess, with COVID-19 that you don't know right away. You have to wait a few days to see if you are actually infected or not, which causes sleepless nights and wondering. And then you find out, well, there are two options. If you are tested positive for COVID-19, you have to let them know and they'll decide what they're going to do with you. The second option is if you're negative, well, you're not required to report. Now, that to me is a problem because it encourages dishonesty in the system. It's your get around. First, you learn rather quickly after this experience it's better to keep your mouth shut and let the person who is actually verified infected to go report it. Instead of you then trying to be the right person and say, hey, I have been told that I have been in contact with this person, so I will report it as well. And then you find out that if you're negative, you don't have to tell anybody. You're not required. So if you're in a certain situation where you're desperate for money or a job or you can't be away from work, you can in your mind, not that we would, you can in your mind say, well, if I don't go get the PCR test, in my mind, that means I'm negative. They can't prove I'm positive because I didn't take the test, so I'm negative. So these COVID-19 protocols that are put in place by big places because they want to be open and they want to collect money and they want to stay in business, that's fine. Requiring masks is fine. Requiring vaccines is fine. But what do you do in the breakthrough? What do you do with the people who get infected? Where is the emergency response team that's actually alive and willing and ready and going? And then if you work other places or you have other meetings to go to, do you go to those meetings or not? So you got to find out, what is your protocol? What is your reporting system? Am I allowed to go to your meeting or not, or do I just stay home until I find out? And here's the thing with this ridiculous COVID thing is, it just doesn't affect the possibly infected person. It also affects the other people in the family. Oh, now they're guilty by association as well. So if you're going to go get a PCR test, everyone in your family's going to go to get a PCR test because who knows who has what. It's a little bit of a mess. So we were wondering about that last night, sending lots of emails, waiting for information to come our way, trying to get answers from people, but answers were not forthcoming. And then, because, as the ancient Greeks like to say, the gods are funny, this shows up in our email inbox. There's a bomb threat at NYU. If you're in these buildings, get out. And this is a public posting. This is not a secret. It's right there on NYU.edu alert. NYU has received bomb threats from 3 locations. Terrence School of Business, Head of Natural Science, and Hebrew Union College. So you're sitting there wondering, if you're going to have COVID-19, and then you see, oh my gosh, if I happened to be on NYU campus last night, this was going down. Something terrible might happen. And then about 3 hours later, it was all clear. But what a mess. What kind of person does that? And here's the news from this morning. NYU buildings evacuated after bomb threat. Public information, alert, bomb threat, article. Tweet from NYU, we received bomb threats, 3 locations, it went out to everybody. It's very good. Transparent. This is what we're dealing with, so go into one building and leave another building. So what's really interesting is this little final part here. That bomb threats were also reported at the University of Southern California, Massachusetts Institute of Technology on Thursday evening, following a series of similar events at Brown, Cornell, Columbia University, and the city of New York, that forced the universities to evacuate several buildings on Sunday. The threats turned out to be hoaxes, but law enforcement is still investigating. So this is the world we live in now. We have to report COVID if you dare. If you dare take the mark of the scarlet letter of being associated with someone who came down with COVID. And then when you're trying to figure out what you're going to do with your life and what you're going to do the next morning, you get a bomb threat. And you think, oh my gosh, maybe something terrible's happening. The world is crumbling. And then after not sleeping all night, you wake up and it's raining on the East Coast. New York City is covered in rain and gloomy skies. People have sinus trouble and congestion, and they don't feel well. So how was your night? Ours was eventful. So I thought we'd do something a little tiny bit funny today, because this has been not a rough week, it's been a very interesting week, but we've talked about a lot of heavy topics all week. And this is our 4th week of live streaming. A month of fun. Not coming to an end, but starting all over again in week 5, as we hope, next week. So I thought I'd give you a quick little tour of my sunglasses collection. And I'll tell you little stories behind each one. So I have very light-colored eyes, if you can see. And light-colored eyes in this world, I am told by my optometrist, are very bad. Because the sun wants to ruin your eyes. I had an old friend and mentor many years ago who had very light blue eyes. She was on television a lot, early television, and she always claimed the trouble she had with her eyes were these bright studio lights, these Klieg lights, that did a lot of damage to her retinas. So she said. And I mentioned that to my ophthalmologist, and my ophthalmologist said, that doesn't sound right, even for 30 to 40 years ago, being under bright lights all day in a studio for a couple of hours, not all day. And then my ophthalmologist said, was that person a smoker? And I said, yeah, she smoked 3 packs a day, all day long, never stopped smoking. And my ophthalmologist said, that's why her eyes are in trouble in her old age. Smoking damages everything. So that's interesting. However, if you go outside and you have light-colored eyes, in addition to wearing sunscreen for your skin, you have to also cover your eyes in sunglasses. Now, during the COVID-19 pandemic, which we are still in the middle of, wearing any sort of glasses, sunglasses, regular glasses, usually leads to fogging, which is a contemptuous idea. and something that we are working to fight. And it does kind of ruin the experience of wearing cool sunglasses. But I'll share it with you anyway. Now, I prefer polarized sunglasses. And these are my first pair. I'll show you the cheapos that I wear just when I'm going out and doing stuff. Now, these, very cool. Now, I can sort of see you. Oh, you can see the lights reflecting. That's wonderful. Some people call these Terminator-style glasses. I like them because they wrap around, and they really do block the sun quite a bit. So these are gray, and because I am obsessive-compulsive, and because I like to cover all of my bases, pretty much the same, slightly different frame, but more mirrored. And these are polarized. The ones I just showed you were not polarized. These I like. These are like $10 glasses. But they're still polarized. When I was young, if you wanted polarized sunglasses, you had to pay a lot of money. Now it's just standard, which is a good thing. These are slightly bigger. These are all worn for different times and considerations, even though they might look the same. The mirror is good because people can't see where you're looking. So if you're trying to be a little sneaky, it's good. Now these are actually my favorite. And these were not cheap. One of my favorites. Right? They look like this. They're safety glasses. And when I was buying these on Amazon, you could only buy one at a time for an address. And if you tried to purchase more by using, let's say, your wife's name, they wouldn't send it to you. You only get one. Now, these are rated for getting not punched, but something poking in your eye like a nail. There is a very slight mirror effect on these. I like them. They're very lightweight. They're very safe. And they look cooler on the street than they do right now. Can't beat them. These are very nice. Now these I have because they remind me of my childhood. The old aviator glasses. The old Joe Bidens, as they say. But these are not name brand. These are just general. And these are brown. I like the brown. I look good in brown, I think. I used to have light-sensitive glasses that turned dark brown in bright sunlight. And that's what we're doing here. These are not too bad. I never really liked these when they arrived because they're very heavy. The frames are kind of a cheap metal. Now we're moving up. Now I'm going to show you my name brands. Yeah. These are my Ray-Bans. Where to begin? Alright, so these are my Ray-Bans. Now, I like these because they just fit your face better. They're darker lenses. Sometimes when you're on public transportation or walking around, you don't really want people looking where you are looking. And one of my students told me, a student at Rutgers University in Newark, one day, "You have cop eyes." I said, "What does that mean?" "You see everything. You're always looking around with your eyes. Cop eyes." So you put these on, people can't see your cop eyes. They might think you're a cop, but they can't see your eyes. And these are super, super comfortable. And they protect your eyes. These are the brown versions, sort of those. These do not protect your cop eyes as well. But if it's a rainy day like today and it's a little cloudy and overcast, you can still see. When you wear dark sunglasses on a dark day, it really is kind of hard to see sometimes. So this, you feel a little bit safer. All right, just a couple more. Who knew you'd have this fun for the price of nothing, right? And these, I think, are the darker versions of the one I just showed you because, as I previously said, I am obsessive-compulsive, and if you have one, you have to have one or the other. These are not as good as hiding your cop eyes as the very first ones in the Ray-Ban series I showed you, but they do the job. And I do find these to be slightly clearer visioned. I think it's because they're slightly flatter and they don't wrap as much, so you don't get as much warping and woofing on your side view as you do in this view. Now I'm going to show you my favorites. Reminds me of my childhood, the 50s. These were slightly expensive. I don't wear them outside because... anymore. Well, I did. I did and then I didn't because of COVID and you have masks. And who wants to wear cool sunglasses when you can't see out of them because they're fogging up? Now look at these, okay? Ray-Bans again, yeah? Very thick sides, which I actually like because it does block the light. And that's why I like wraparounds, because they block the light from the side. So these are polarized, and the lenses are green. Dark green. So they look gray, but they're not. They're dark green. And this look I am enjoying and I am liking. I do feel cool. As we're doing the cop eye test, I don't see the cop eyes. They're very dark, but I feel confident. Now, I am technically required to wear sunglasses every time I go outside by my ophthalmologist, and I do not. Because I have discovered as I age, I like bright lights. So these LED lights you see shining on me, I sort of leave them on all day when I'm done with the stream because it gives me a lot of really nice soft light that I can see. I didn't realize how much work I do here in the dark. And when you get older, your eyes start to dim a little bit. You need more light to see better, for definition, for safety. And when you have dark sunglasses like this, you go outside in the sun, you're risking things a little bit dangerous because you can't see really where you're going. Now, I do wear contacts every day, and they do have UVB protection, so I am getting what I believe is enough protection. Many years ago, when you just had regular contacts without that protection, you had to really wear sunglasses because of the magnifying effect, I was told, from the contact lens. The hard contact lens against your corneas was amplified and made worse. But so far, so good. I have floaters, but no damage. The eyes are okay. So far, who knows what tomorrow will bring. Now, somebody told me I should just wear sunglasses like this all day. Inside, outside, live stream. Just hide your face. Hide your cop eyes. Not happening. So that's the extent of my sunglasses collection. I think I have more, but they're not as fun and not as delightful as what I just showed you. So we had an eventful COVID evening, then we had a bomb scare, and then we relaxed together with a little bit of sunglasses fun. And now, my friend, it is that time of day where we're going to take a brief intermission, a blood pressure break, and then I'm going to come back and show you some really neat tech stuff before our delightful Janna Marie shows up here in about 45 minutes to give you the run of your lifetime. It's a wonderful top-level advanced ASL story. One you will definitely enjoy. I will see you in a moment. It's not working. So that's a little disappointing. I'll tell you why when I get back. I'll do it the traditional way. Okay, see you soon. And we are back from our blood pressure break. Thank you for being here. And I just showed you my Janna Marie mug that you can buy in our online store. bolesbooks.org/merch. It's filled with delicious water, and I say hello to her. And you look at it and say, why are you drinking with two hands? Well, I'm drinking it to study and steady the product. Well, Trump, you called him, I didn't, but some people called him pre-dementia because he takes two hands to drink his water. Maybe he's selling the water, just demonstrating the water. Who knows? And speaking of Trump, Christie is in the news. Former governor of the state of New Jersey. And he's going after Trump. He's the anti-Trump. Which I think is good for all of us. Whatever side you're on, having Christie go after Donald Trump is a good thing. However, Trump is going to go after him and probably call him names because he is a large, rotund man. But Christie is very smart and he's competent. So if we had to pick a replacement for Donald Trump on the Republican side, Christie is not a bad choice. He was our governor for many years and he really did an okay job. He's fine. You can live life, a good life under Christie. Now, I also wanted to mention the cop eyes thing that I just talked about with my sunglasses. I should wear my cop glasses while I tell this. Having cop eyes, especially in a big city, is not a good thing. It was not a compliment. It was a warning expressed to me in great confidence by my student at the University of Rutgers-Newark. She was saying to me, be careful because you look at people like you are a cop and they are doing something wrong, and that can get you in trouble. Well, people will come after you thinking that you're a cop, undercover or off duty or whatever. Why would you go after that kind of energy by the way you look at people? I had no idea what she was talking about. So I talked to my wife, the lovely Janna Marie, and she said, yeah, sometimes you have hard eyes. What do you mean? And she said, sometimes when you're out in public, you have to soften your gaze a little bit. Don't look at everybody like this. Not shifty-eyed. I'm doing shifty-eyed. That's not right. Cop eyes. Don't do that. Because your student is right. It looks like you're judging them. You're looking at them. You want to start something with them. You don't like them. And I said, the reason I think I do that is maybe because there's danger. But secondly, I don't see so great. I think a lot of my cop-eyedness is me trying to focus and trying to see something. And my lovely wife, Janna, said, it doesn't matter. Don't do it. Because you're going to get in trouble. So I work on my cop eyes, and I try to hide them every once in a while by going out in public with my sunglasses. So now we're going to talk about something a little bit, I would say, fun. People love to say that when guys get new equipment, it's a toy, but I don't. Thank you for following. Mark is following. Good to have you here. And when a guy gets something new and something fun, oh, it's a toy. It's not a serious thing. Well, I'm going to show you something and it's not a toy. I'm going to show you something that I think is a lot of fun and very beneficial, even when it doesn't work, to this lovely live stream. Well, I made it worse. And that is this. I'll show you the box first. Radio voice. It's Stream Deck by Elgato. Okay, what's a Stream Deck? Well, I'm going to show you. Neat thing. And there are different versions of Stream Deck. You can have ones with a lot of buttons and ones with a few buttons. Mine has 15 buttons, which I find to be just about right for what I'm trying to do. And I really have no idea what I'm trying to do. So this is what Stream Deck looks like. It sits on my desk. And it has programmable buttons. And it has folders. Okay, the folders are the most important part of the whole thing. There we go, okay. So you can see, we are in a folder right now. This is the sound effects folder. So if I press this button, I can go back, and that takes me to my main screen, where there's a little clock. I put the clock there. I can turn off my lights, our lights, like this. Okay, oh, now we can't see each other. Although you look a little bit better in this light. Turn the lights back on. Oh, okay. So you can control that. I have folders for Zoom, and music, and web, and slobs, which is Streamlabs ODS, sounds, and music. What does all this mean? I'm going to show you. And also, there's an app that didn't work when I tried to go to break. But this is what the app looks like. And it's more sophisticated than the Streamlabs Slobs deck controller. This one you have to pay monthly to use. But it's supposed to do the same things. Like if I click on this timer, it starts a little 30-second timer that, if we're lucky, will then sound, and you will be able to hear it and enjoy it. And you can run ads, you can change the scene, but when I tried to change the scene, it didn't change the scene. It didn't go to our intermission. So we have 10 seconds left. We'll see if this works or not. And if it works, then we're on the money. It worked. So that worked. So why didn't my break work? The break is not working. Is my start screen working? No. I don't know what happened. Well, this is disappointing. Is my browser working? No. Is my test alert working? Now this I did test, and I thought it was that. Okay, so that is working. Why the rest of this is not working, I don't know. I think I can send a test tweet if I press this button here, or on my slobs handheld thing, so I'm going to press the tweet. It looks like it's saying, okay, look. Okay, we're tweeting. Did it go through? Let's go find out. Let me see if I can bring it up with my cop eyes. I have to change the scene here because it's not working there. Maybe I'll stop. Oh, look at this. Here it is, right here. 21 seconds ago. Yo. 21 seconds ago. David Rolls Live is online right now. On Twitch. Follow and join us. 39 seconds. Can we like it ourselves? We're going to anyway. And then we're going to reply to ourselves because that's what we do here. We're self-centered and we have cop eyes. The test worked. Oh, not my cop. What is it called? Stream Deck? Okay. Elgato Stream Deck passed the Twitter test. Huzzah. Okay. Well, that was fun. And it worked. So there we go. And I can do all of this via that little deck that I just showed you to that's at an angle. So I'm going to go into slobs on this thing. It's not changing the scene either. I don't know. Something's wrong with it. It was working last night. In the middle of the COVID crisis, it was working. So I'm going to show you a little bit more of what this thing, this Stream Deck, can do for you. And that means we have to go here. So this is what that little thing I showed you looks like when you program it. And you can just drag and drop things there, or you can get really fancy like I did last night when I couldn't sleep, and you can make folders that give you more slots to use for fun stuff. So this is the main screen, and all of these are folders. You see Zoom, music, web, slob, sounds, the clock. Turn on the lights on and off. Okay, beautiful, right? Then you click to go into a folder, and this is the Zoom folder. So you touch these buttons on your Stream Deck or on your phone, and you can record, you can mute yourself, you can turn your video on and off. And you can certainly do all of this on your computer, but it's much easier if you're live streaming or whatever, you can just reach out and touch a button. These are screenshots I'm showing you, by the way. And when you go into Stream Deck, slobs, these are all the things you can do. We did our quote. Here's I'll press the quote button. And it calls up a quote. We did the blue Twitter thing. Eventually, if we ever run ads, you can run ads. You can test your alert, right? We did that together. Hello. And then you press start, and it just doesn't change the scene. And I don't know why it's not working. Now this is where it gets really interesting. If you go into the music folder, and now I have to turn off Pretzel Rocks for this to work. Alright, so Pretzel Rocks is off. You can hear all the background noise. That's why I love streaming DMCA cleared music. And this is, for streaming, this music is all clear. And you can pick different genres and different kinds of music types. So this is what I set up during the bomb scare last night. And I'm going to play some of them for you now. So we're chatting, and you're looking for some music. So, here you can have this kind of music. Toccata. A little bit loud. It's a little bit loud. So you would have that underneath you, which is okay. And you can set the volume of the music that you have if you want it to be a little bit softer. And maybe I should. Let me pull this up right now and see if I can make the music a little bit softer. And the idea is that you have this playing underneath you as you're speaking, and you can have it loop, you can have it just play once. Most of these musical interludes are like a minute two. So I choose to have them looped. And I'm lowering all the volume on these right now because these are very loud. But the music sounds good. The quality of the instrumentation, as you'll see, is pretty dynamic, which is a little surprising. So let's try going. I don't remember what that is, but let's find out. Oh. Now that's a groove, baby. So let's talk a little bit about a bomb threat happened last night in New York City on the NYU campus. Still a little loud. Yeah, that's better. That's 11%. But usable. What about some soul, baby? Oh, you have to stop everything. See, everything's on a loop, so if I start one, I have to stop the other. And I have a stop button that I just press, and everything goes quiet. So there's a little bit of soul music for you. And I press this button in the middle, which is stop. And here's a little bit of blues. Yeah. Sing it. So instead of having to use a music streaming service, you could just have all of this music playing locally via your Stream Deck. And this music is all safe for you to stream, as I understand it. So that's blues. Let's see what jams does. Okay. Oh. Here. Yeah. Funk it. Go. And go. And go. And go. Oh. Yeah. So you can pick your mood. Here's some jazz music. Soulful. Maybe a little bit louder. Yeah. Now imagine this playing underneath my sorrowful cop eyes story. I was in the subway and they were looking at me and I was looking at them. It was, in fact, a stare down. My cop eyes were on duty that day. The badge shining in my eyes. And there was no surrender to be had. Okay, I like that one. This one is Monk. I don't know why I called it that, but we'll find out. Ah. This is like live jazz music. I believe this one was recorded live. You can tell the volume sort of varies from song to song. So they have hundreds of these music beds that you can use to stream via your Stream Deck. So that's music. That's fun and just a little bit tidy. And this is what the music looks like. You can go listen to it, preview it, download it to your computer. Then you drag a play button onto your screen, and then you say, I want that button to play that song. It sounds complicated, but once you work it out, it's really very easy. Now we're going into something a little more interesting. When I was young, a long time ago, there was a thing in radio, especially like in the 80s, it was really popular, where you could go in there and it was called a soundboard. And you had pre-recorded sounds like sighs or gasps or ding-dongs that you could use to punctuate and flavor your radio show. Well, there's been a return to the old soundboard via Stream Deck. It's called Sounds, and there are hundreds and thousands of them that you can choose from and bring them in. Here are a few that I have picked. This one is Cheer. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, I do have cop eyes, by the way. I appreciate it. Yes. All right, thank you. And because I have that looped, I have to stop everyone. Police. Uh-huh. Yeah, cop eyes, you say. Yeah, sure. I'm going to read you your rights. You have the right to remain silent, and you can no longer look at me. Censored. This is fun. So, yes. Well, I tell you, that gosh, my cop eyes, that probably should not be looped. And we're hearing this somewhere. This is called Rising. I don't know exactly what it does, but it's doing something somewhere. It does sound scary. Christie is not a bad Republican. Believe me, he used to be my governor. That was pretty good. Did I tell you the story about my cop eyes? Yes, all right. Please, applause. I appreciate you so much. And of course, the evil laugh. I was told I used to laugh like this as a young child. I don't think I do anymore. Dangers of looping. It keeps going until you stop it. Here's a boom. Oh, that's a good one. And then Christie turned and looked at me and said... We can also go into the forest with the trees. Have I told you about my life growing up as a young child in the Midwest, where the trees played and the brook was running? Brook was running down your nose. We can also be in a diner. Yes, I'd like some eggs, please, and a large coffee with cream and sugar to go. And this just plays and tell a story and let it play out. I also like this one. Hello? The ringing phone that never gets answered. Now, how do you like this for a live stream? Just play this as we go to intermission. I'll leave you with the ringing phone. Or, little ambiance. It's raining and it's a little loud. Now, why is the rain louder than the diner? I don't know. I don't think I did anything. But of course, it's always my fault because I'm the one who's doing it. City. The urban core is all around you. I took my cop eyes into New York City to look for the bad guys. And finally, let's go into the bar. Sure, all our friends are here. Did I tell you the story about the guy who got shot? He flashed his badge in the middle of his cop eyes. So, that Stream Deck, that's a soundboard. Now, what fun was that? We had a little bit of fun, but we didn't have a lot of fun. What do you mean? Well, what if we tried to blend the sounds? Now, we have this on a loop, so if you start something, it's not going to stop until you stop it. And I've experimented with this very briefly. When you get a lot of things going at the same time, and then you press stop, everything stops. You can't stop it individually anymore. So maybe we'll have just a little bit of rain. Thank you. And maybe there's an emergency. And maybe there's a street performer. Maybe there's an evil guy in the corner. And maybe you want to add a little bit of delightful music. So we can do just a little bit of dancing. Turn up the music. We're in the city and we're taking over. Okay, so you hit stop and everything stops. So maybe we'll try this a little different way. Maybe slightly more sophisticated because it is early in the morning on a rainy day in New York City. So we have a little bit of blues music playing for you, right? And we'll turn up the music just a little bit. Get the funk going. And then maybe we'll see what sounds we have that we can layer over this. Maybe we want a ringing telephone. Maybe we're in a bar. And there's an annoying telephone ringing in the background. But you can't really hear it because you're busy. And people are coming to see you. Maybe someone cheers for you a little bit. Says hello. live and in concert, in the big city, in the diner, with your old telephone ringing in the back of your head. And maybe, just maybe, you'll be lucky enough where someone will give you a little follow. Hey, test. Maybe you'll run a timer that in 30 seconds it's going to run down, give you a little alert. You have a lot of fun going with you. It's getting a little noisy in here. We're going to cover charge, make you a little more impressionable. Yes, I'll have another one, please. Thank you. A little more bass. It's a mess. It's a phone that never answers. It's our alarm. And finally, let's just be censored. So that was fun. Here's the box again. This is not a promotional advertisement. They didn't contact me. I didn't contact them. No one's getting paid. No one's getting any benefit from this whatsoever, except you, because you're getting all this fun for free. And once again, here is how it looks. This is the Stream Deck app on my iPhone. We're in the slobs version here. Here's the main screen, yeah. Little time. And the music that you were enjoying right here. I have some empty slots. I can put more things in there. Have fun. And I'm supposed to be able to control all of this from my phone. Oh, there's the music. Monk. All right, it's working. So right now, it's that time. We're going to take another little tiny break. We put the regular music back on from Pretzel Rocks. You can't beat them. You can't live without them. And then Janna Marie's going to show up in about 15 minutes to share a wonderful American Sign Language story. It's advanced. Probably should be level 4 or above to completely understand it. However, during the first break, I asked her, I said, hey, Janna Marie, do you think you could teach some of the vocabulary, some of the signs, so maybe not advanced people could enjoy what you're doing? And she said, this is an advanced ASL story. Why would I teach vocabulary? And I said, well, think about it. And I think she's going to share some vocabulary, which I think is helpful, because some of this might be new, very advanced, but at least if you have a little touchstone, a little pathway into, oh, I see what's happening there, oh, I see what's happening over there, then you can kind of put the story together, even if you really don't understand what's going on in the story. That's the plan anyway. We'll see how it works out. And we're going to be back in one moment. And we are back from break. Thank you for sticking around. David Boles live. Interesting conversation so far today. And this music you hear streaming is from Pretzel Rocks, and Pretzel Rocks pops up what the current song playing is. And I realized we can also get a little applause going and just let it keep going and going because we're very popular. Thank you very much. It's been a long time. But enough of that. Stop. Okay, so Janna Marie is on her way in to tell an advanced ASL story. And just so you know, because we're fun, by popular request, we have had some requests for our Janna material. This is from our first book, Hand Jive. That is the B word being signed. It's part of the book. And people want this on clothing, so this is our updated merch store at bolesbooks.org/merch. We have Janna as a monster. We have Janna saying the S word part 1. We have Janna saying S word part 2. It was that kind of book. It was a fun street book, street language, street slang. We have Stinky. That's the sign for Stinky. We have the always popular vampire. This is throwing up. No good. Who? And then a variety of lovely other Janna Marie memorabilia. It's all there. It's all fun. In the merch store. So Janna Marie's on her way. And she's going to tell an advanced ASL story. And I asked her what it's about, and she's going to explain that it is about the medical view of deafness and the deaf view of deafness. And we've written about this extensively, especially in Hand Jive. And you can go to hardcoreasl.com, click on our ASL books, and you can download our book for free. It's a PDF. But the medical view of deafness is that deafness is something that needs to be fixed. And they do that by intervention, by cochlear implants. And the deaf view of deafness is you're born that way. That's your culture. That's the culture you know. And you should be raised in it and use manual language. Manual sign language. And that can cause a rift and a problem between the medical community and the deaf community. So, where the medical community used to implant children with cochlear implants at age 8, then it dropped it down to 5, and now it's like months old. Well, let's get in there right away and fix this broken kid. And these kids pretty much are born to hearing parents who say, well, absolutely, intervene. What else is medicine for? Fix my broken child. And the deaf don't see themselves as broken or in need of an intervention. So that's kind of the direction her story is going to go today. And she has a lot. She wrote this. These are notes that she wrote for me that I'm trying to share with you. And so she also said there's an experience of not understanding. Even when you are deaf and your friends are deaf, there is still misunderstanding and cruelty and miscommunication can be a big problem. So the idea of her story, we hope, at the end will be, and it will be, is to respect all communities and all points of view wherever you're coming from, and it's okay to disagree with somebody. So we're going to prepare for Janna Marie now. I need to turn off the music instead of just turning it down, so it won't keep popping up what's playing. I need to get her scene set up, so she can have a lot of fun with that. And then Janna Marie is going to be here momentarily to share a story with you. And it's an open conversation. She's going to be typing a few things. You can type back to her in chat. If you have questions, you can ask her when she's done with her presentation. What did that mean? What is this? What's happening? And she'll type back and answer you. So the next person you see will be Janna Marie on her way to see you. Thank you so much. And thank you, Janna Marie, for that lovely and beautiful lesson in American Sign Language. You learn something new every day. Respect is the order of the day, and the mandate of the year, and the guiding force in our lives. But we're going to take a very brief intermission, and we're going to come back with some more interesting ideas to share momentarily. Back in a zing-zang. And we are back. David Boles live. It's still gloomy and raining here in the New York City area, but it's going to be a good day. We've decided the sun can come out in our minds, if not in front of our eyes. Well, Janna's story today, a lesson in respect and understanding each other from a cultural point of view, is very valuable, and she was slightly dismayed that she forgot to show you this book. So I'm going to show you this book right now. The Legacy of the Iowa School for the Deaf. A history of the first 150 years. And this is the little blurb from the back. The blurb from the back. Once known as Iowa's Asylum for the Deaf and Dumb, the evolution of Iowa School for the Deaf has made a deep impact on thousands of deaf Iowans. For 150 years, learn how the Civil War, Great Depression, and World Wars impacted campus. Uncover the strength of the school as it withstood natural disasters, devastating fires, quarantines, and a 50-year controversy regarding its location. It's in prime real estate area in Council Bluffs. It's a big, beautiful campus. And several years ago, there was a some controversy about the future of the Iowa School for the Deaf that goes back a few years before that. Maybe, well, gosh, now it's been 30, 40 years ago. There used to be a Nebraska school for the deaf and blind in downtown Omaha. And Omaha, Council Bluffs, they're the same metro area. You go over the river. Just like you go over the river between New York City and Jersey City. You go over the river from Manhattan to Jersey City and everything is 50% cheaper. Same thing. Omaha, Council Bluffs. You're in Omaha, go over to Council Bluffs, 3 minutes in the car, everything's 50% cheaper. Interesting phenomenon. So the Nebraska School for the Deaf ran out of money, and they decided to close. And people in Nebraska were outraged, some of them. How can you close this historic school? And they said, we don't have any money. We don't have enough students. So they closed the school and blended it with the Iowa School for the Deaf, which was good because it helped increase some enrollment for the Iowa School for the Deaf. And all of the deaf students in Nebraska would be, I don't want to say shipped in, but transferred, bused in to go to school in Iowa. And it is an institution in a way that kids live there. They come from far away, a bus goes out 3 hours, 5 hours, picks them up, brings them to campus. They stay overnight during the week, and often on weekends they are driven home. So it's a landing, it's a place, it's a community. Big, beautiful campus. Iowa School for the Deaf. And then about 10, 15 years ago, again because there's no money, they were going to close the Iowa School for the Deaf. The state of Iowa was saying, 150 years, well, enough of that. And the deaf community in Omaha, Council Bluffs, rose up and said, what do you mean enough of that? This is not just an institution of learning, this is a cultural touchstone. This is the history of deafness in America. It's an important place where people who are important come to live and know. We have famous alumni like Janna Marie Sweeney, who lives and works in New York City and has been teaching ASL for 25 years at New York University and writing books with her cop-eyed husband, among other things. And so there was sort of a groundswell, and the governor said, okay, we'll keep it open for a few more years. And the victory was celebrated, and ISD stayed open for a few more years. And it's been staying open for a long time. Now here is the issue, the grander issue, the more vital issue, the more perilous issue at ISD and Lexington School for the Deaf in New York and American School for the Deaf in Connecticut and any other deaf place where kids were educated because of their deafness disability, is that with this medical intervention, some say the stealing of children from a culture and a community that they were born into, you are diminishing the opportunity for these deaf institutions to educate the children in their culture, the culture in which they were born into. Well, the medical community does not agree with that. The medical community wants you to be fixed, and will find speech therapists to make you hearing and to force you to use your voice. Alexander Graham Bell, the inventor of the telephone, one ringy-dingy, two ringy-dingy. He believed that deaf people should have their hands tied behind their backs so they would not use sign language. He was an audist. He believed in hearing over sign language over the deaf. I'll show you an article I wrote about that briefly. Autists and Autism. And here are some other articles. A Shameful History of Gallaudet, Not Deaf Enough at Gallaudet. But this autist is about hearing function over deaf function, written in 2006. So these are old ideas that have been kicked around and bullied around and battered around for a long time. Nothing new going on here. This is all part of it. So what is an autist? Well, you'll find out right here in this article that I wrote. So there is concern in the deaf community. What are we going to do with these medical doctors coming in and implanting these cochlear implants into infants, months-old infants, and, quote, making them hearing, forcing them to be hearing? Well, a lot of these children are implanted, grow up, they're left out, they're separated, they have this big thing on the side of their head. Other kids make fun of them. And sometimes what happens is the kids take off the cochlear implant and they go into the deaf community and they discover a visual language that they can understand and they can share with other people, and they're very happy. Some people just go along. They learn to lip read and not to use sign language and to use their voice, and they get along fine. But the threat to the center of the community are these medical interventions. And so the thinking goes, well, why do we need an Iowa school for the deaf? Because, in a few years, a generation or two, these medical doctors are going to fix all the deaf people. And we won't need a school dedicated to them. We could just mainstream them. And we won't even call it mainstreaming because we fix their hearing with these implants. Okay. All of that is true. And what's really interesting is that the future of the deaf community, especially in America, is with foreign-born children who are deaf. And their parents are usually hearing. And they're immigrants or they're refugees, but they're here in America. And they want a public education, and they have that right as citizens, or their parents, or they were born here, or whatever you want to say. They're here and they want to be educated, and they are deaf. And here we go about money. A cochlear implant costs, as I understand it, between $85,000 and $50,000. And many insurance companies will pay for that intervention, medical intervention in the changing of a culture of a deaf child. They'll pay for it. But if you're not from here, and you don't have insurance, and you're deaf, well, too bad. We want to medically intervene in your deafness and fix you, but if you can't pay the bill, we're not going to do it. So these foreign-born children who are deafened and don't have a language, not even of their own language or American language or English, they have no language whatsoever. And they need to be educated. Where do they go? Well, now we know. They go where they are wanted. They go to the Iowa School for the Deaf, the American School for the Deaf, or Lexington School for the Deaf, and they are able to find a good and affordable public education where they can learn a language, be it English and or American Sign Language, probably not their home sign language or their home signs that they use in gesturing and signaling with their families. But they're still there. So it's really interesting that the thing, if you want to call it a thing, that will save the American deaf community and keep it perpetuating and propagating reflects the history and future of America. It's immigrants. It's new blood. It's new belonging. And they can't belong in the way that the medical community wants them to belong by fixing them because they can't afford the surgery. So they become part of something that is greater than what the medical community wants for them. They become part of a culture and a history. And you write a new chapter in this book the 175 years legacy of the Iowa School for the Deaf, the immigrant version. And not an immigrant invasion, it's an immigrant participation, where hopes and dreams of deaf generations of children and parents continue. And many of these foreign-born deaf children who are educated here in America in deaf schools have hearing parents. And yes, those parents want their kids to be mainstreamed and fixed and healed and not have this perceived deficit of being deaf. But there's not money and there's not access to do it. And so, historically, the deaf schools step in and take care of it. So this medical view of deafness and this cultural view of deafness are in conflict, and they will always be in conflict as long as the medical community believes that deaf people are broken. And they do believe that. That's why they have all these interventions. Well, we had a wonderful stream today. Feels like everything I said today was a rant. Ranting about myself and my cop eyes, ranting about the bomb scare on the NYU campus, ranting about the COVID-19 protocols that are really not protocols whatsoever. They're just diversions from the reality. And then we found our wonderful Janna Marie, who shared an intimate and important story about her experience as a deaf woman growing up at the Iowa School for the Deaf. And where even some of her deaf friends don't accept her as deaf because she's too hearing or has too much residual hearing. Well, it's been a fun month doing this live stream with you. I appreciate your participation. If you would like to get in touch or ask a question, you can find me on Twitter, David Boles. And when you're talking to me, you're talking to Janna Marie, so just send it. On Facebook, Boles, Instagram, Boles Books. Right here on Twitch, follow us if you aren't. It really makes a difference. Boles Books. And our main website for everything ASL is hardcoreasl.com, where we offer private tutoring and classes and information. We publish books at bolesbooks.com, and my personal archive is at boles.com. It's been a wild week. Fun 4 months. 4 weeks. Maybe 4 months if we're lucky. And I thank you so much for your time and your attention and your ongoing friendship. And I will see you very soon. Be in touch, take care, and be well, my friend. Thank you.